Good morning. We are going to talk about voter shaming today. Specifically, the practice that has intensified over the past few weeks of people openly trying to shame Democratic voters who don't like Joe Biden, which is to say 85 to 90% of Democratic voters, to try and shame them into voting for Joe Biden anyway. Now, for most people, this is not too hard. For many Democratic voters, you have the Democratic candidate, you have the Republican candidate, they're going to vote for the Democratic candidate anyway, regardless. And then there are the people who are, again, most, who will be like, well, I don't like Joe Biden, but he's fine, he's better than Trump, I don't really have a problem voting for him. Okay, that covers most of Democratic voters. And then you have a smaller percentage of voters who really don't like Joe Biden and really don't want to vote for him, but you don't really have to twist their arm to have them do it anyway, because they feel like they have no choice, especially compared to the current president. They're like, well, this is obviously not great, but, what else am I going to do? Okay, I'm in. And then you have another smaller percentage of voters who are like, can't do it. Joe Biden is crap. The crime bill, not caring about the working class, not caring about the Green New Deal, not caring about people having access to health care. Like, why would I? And this is obviously the group that is being shamed. And they approach it as if this group of people is not aware of, like, how bad Trump is. Like, girl, it's been on the news every day for 5 years. We get it. Like, no one is not aware. And then it becomes, well, okay, but you don't care. I don't know where you get that from. Because people who are expressly interested in policy and in impacts of policy don't care? I don't get it. And then they use the talking point of, how can you be so privileged as to not care about those who Trump would hurt? And it's like, okay, if you have a candidate who's going to slap you and a candidate who's going to punch you, many voters will choose the candidate who's going to slap you. But then there are voters who'd be like, I'd rather not be hit. And when you have experienced abuse from both parties, I just don't understand how you could be blamed for not wanting to support either party. And I know that many people would be like, how do Democrats abuse voters? Like, you are the one who's obviously not paying attention. And we can talk about harm reduction, and we can talk about the lesser of two evils. And I'm not saying that those are completely invalid arguments, because I think that is something that you can legitimately talk about. But I also think you can talk about the fact that you have generations of voters who have been slapped, and then slapped, and then slapped, and then slapped. And then when they, go to grab the hand that's slapping them, and they get shamed for it, that they are the ones who are acting inappropriately here, that they are the ones who cannot just take it again. That's putting the blame in the wrong place. So this is not about people being dumb or ignorant or arrogant or privileged or throwing a tantrum because they didn't get exactly what they wanted. That is so far from what the actual issue is, and yet that's the talking point that's being used. And so you have to look at who could take this issue and reduce it to that, and to use specifically shaming tactics in order to get someone to do what they want. That's abusive, and that's a problem, and that is why, you had 3% of people vote third party in 2016, you had 40% of people not vote at all, because they were like, screw this. This is not not speaking to me. And those 40% of people who didn't vote, they are not dumb or ignorant or arrogant either, because they have not been spoken to. They have not been asked for their vote. They have not seen themselves and their policies and their families, the important issues that affect their daily lives. They are still making $7.25 an hour. We had Obama for 8 years, and the federal minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. And you expect them to just vote for Joe Biden. Just why? Because of Trump. Like that's what it then comes to. And again, that's not an invalid argument. Like, yes, I think that he is as bad as people say he is, as I see that he is, as his actions and his words show him to be. I agree. And that is why I get people who hate Biden but will vote for Biden anyway. Because, like, I agree. Horrible. I agree. But if Biden wants to get more people to vote for him, shaming people and calling them privileged for not feeling great about it is not the way to do that. Like, people know Trump is bad. Pointing that out isn't gonna, like, change someone's mind. We all know. We all already know. So if you want to reach out to new voters, to the 40% of people who didn't vote last time, who are like, screw both of you guys, maybe shaming is not the way to go. Maybe actually speaking to them and their issues is the way to go, because that seems to make all the frickin' sense in the world, doesn't it? The huge problem is that Joe Biden and other establishment politicians of both parties don't really care about those issues. And so they don't talk about them. They talk about shaming. That's why they do it. That's a problem. And that is why, if Joe Biden loses, it's going to be his own goddamn fault for not speaking to the 40% of people that he could have won over easily. If you can't do that, if you can't say to the people making $725, if you can't say to the people who have family members who have died because they couldn't afford health care, if you're saying that to, you know, the people whose neighborhoods have been irrevocably poisoned and polluted, it is so easy to speak about those topics and issues because they are popular. The support for Medicare for All and the Green New Deal has popular majority support, and yet can't have it because our rich donors don't like it. And you wonder why 40% of people don't vote. So don't shame voters. Don't treat them like they're dumb. Don't treat them like they don't care. They care very much. I can guarantee you that. If you want a vote, you can earn a vote easily. It's not that hard. It's your responsibility.